That's going to mesh with the warmer temperatures to create some situations for us we need to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. That's for Cochise East and Graham County. We had that red flag warning, Robbie. So dry air, warm conditions, and of course the winds that we've had over the last few days all come together.
Yeah, and it should be about what we saw yesterday, right, Daniel?
Yeah, so the temperatures are going to be a little bit below. The winds, at least for Tucson, should be about the same, and it's starting off about the same as what you had yesterday to start off the day. We really didn't notice those winds moving in until about the middle of the morning. I'm expecting more of the same for later on today. So remember, we did talk about that red flag warning wasn't in effect yesterday, but instead we had a fire weather watch that's been upgraded for those of you in between Safford and Bisbee. If you're in Benson and Sierra Vista, you're not included, but just keep in mind the same kind of precautions you would use if you did have that red flag warning. Now, I do think the winds at worst for Cochise County will be lasting from the late morning up until the later part of the afternoon. But for Tucson, it looks a little bit different for your day today. I'm still expecting some stronger winds, likely in between 20 and 25 miles per hour at most, but your window is mainly going to be during the evening. So I think in between 4 and 7 o'clock is going to be when you have the worst winds in the city itself. Thankfully dying down overnight, and as we start to see that low pressure move on out, I do think the winds are going to be dropping. Now, something else that's going to be changing too is of course going to be those allergies. We are finally going to start to see these numbers come down just a little bit. You have a couple more days of high or moderately high allergies out there before that wind shift also helps us out for both Friday and Saturday. But remember, we also have the dust mixed in there too with the pollen. This likely isn't going to be changing for a little while longer, because even though we're going to have the pollen count go down and we're not really going to see as much in the way of super strong winds for the weekend, you're still going to have plenty of that dust in the air across all of southern Arizona, simply because we've had so much of these stronger winds over the last few weeks. But as far as any consistent blowing dust that's anything short of a dust storm, I do think that's going to be likely mainly between Safford and Bisbee throughout much of the day today. And the most common spot to see it is between Wilcox and the border of New Mexico. That's typically the time of year that we do see dust storms developing if they do happen. Now, when it comes to high temperatures across the area, I do think lower 80s today. So yesterday we stopped around 85. I think 83 on average is going to be a good stopping point for most of us. Again, that wind is coming out of the northwest, so that tends to keep us cooler for this time of year. If you're in Cochise County, stopping in the 70s for most of you. And surprisingly, Ajo could be cooler than Tucson. That'll be changing over the next few days, because not only are we looking at that low pressure moving out, but we also have high pressure right off the border there of Los Angeles and down towards the south near Mexico. That's not really going to be rising up our temperatures too much here in Tucson, but still plenty of us out there could have some stronger winds developing at times, and especially warmer temperatures moving in as well. All right, so next 7 days for you, plenty of sun. You're looking at the lower 90s for both Saturday and Sunday. Those are going to be the two warmest days before we have a very light cool down, I think, in the middle of next week. Nothing like what we have right now, but I think upper 80s for a few days towards Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Well, that was weather. Let's go ahead and talk about traffic before we head on outside today. Things are still looking good throughout most of town. No reports of any accidents